Hello guys, welcome back to the course. In this video, we are going to talk about the differences between quantitative and qualitative market research methodologies. So it is very essential for you guys to know when to use quantitative and when to use qualitative, right? It really depends on the objective of your market research. And we're also going to talk about the pros and cons of each market research methodology. Okay, so now let's begin with quantitative. So quantitative research collects and analyzes numerical data to measure and quantify occurrence, often using structured surveys or experiments. Meanwhile, if we're talking about qualitative, it explores non-numerical data through open-ended methods like interviews and focus groups to gain in-depth insights into complex phenomena. Okay, so if we're talking about quantitative, we're dealing with number, we're dealing with data, right? But if we're talking about qualitative, we're dealing with opinions. Okay, so that's the main difference between quantitative and qualitative methodology. And now you might be wondering, hey, when to use quantitative and when to use qualitative? Okay, so let me explain. If your market research objective requires you to deal with number or data, then you obviously should use quantitative method, alright? However, if your market research objective requires you to deal with opinions from your customers, for example, then you should use qualitative. Okay, so these are three examples when you should use quantitative: market segmentations, market size estimations, and market share analysis. And you might be wondering why. For market segmentation analysis, quantitative method is going to help you to categorize customer into segments using numerical data, which will make it easier for you to identify and target specific demographics. Meanwhile, for market size estimations, quantitative method is going to be very helpful because it will help you to estimate market size and demand through data-driven calculations and surveys, guys. And for market share analysis, quantitative method is also going to be very helpful because it will help you to assess companies' market share relative to competitors and also identify areas for growth or market penetrations. So if you notice that all these three analyses require you to deal with data, require you to deal with number. And that's the reason why we should use quantitative methodology for these three analyses. And let's talk about the qualitative. Okay, so these are three examples when you should consider to use qualitative method: brand perceptions, user experience design, and customer journey mapping. If you notice that none of these three require you to deal with number, right? None of these three requires you to deal with data. Okay, so for brand perceptions, you're basically trying to analyze people's opinions on your brand, right? So you're going to ask their opinions. So it's not number, it's more like answer from your customers or answer from your audience, right? And now let's talk about user experience design. So we are going to interview our customers or our user about things that could be done to improve the quality of our product, right? So it has nothing to do with number. It has everything to do with their opinions. It has everything to do with their experience using our product, right? And also the same case for customer journey mapping. Okay, so now let's talk about the pros and cons of its market research methodology. So let's begin with the quantitative method. If we're talking about the pros, quantitative method provides precise numerical data that is easy to analyze statistically, allowing for objective and quantifiable insights. So if we're talking about mathematics, 1 plus 1 is equals to 2, right? And there is only one answer to that question, 2, right? So the answer is precise. And now let's talk about the cons. Sometimes quantitative method may lack of depth and fail to capture the complexity of human behavior or motivations, potentially leading to oversimplification of findings. So we need to realize that human is more than just a statistic. Human is more than just a number, right? There is more complexity. That's the reason why sometimes we need to use qualitative method. Okay, so now let's talk about the pros and cons of qualitative method. So let's talk about the pros first. It offers rich in-depth insights into the attitudes, emotions, and behaviors of participants, enabling a deeper understanding of complex phenomena. Let me give you an example, guys. If you're going to do a survey to your customers using two different methods, the first one is quantitative. You're simply just going to ask them to rate your product, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 for the best experience and then 1 for the worst experience with the product. And the second one is to ask their opinions, right? So instead of like multiple choice form survey, you're going to ask them to write down like their complaints or their opinions on our product. Which one is going to help you more? Well, in my opinion, the second one is going to help us more, right? Because we are going to be able to know like their pain points. We're going to be able to know like what are they complaining about the product, right? So it's going to be more helpful. And now let's talk about the cons of qualitative method. Findings can be subjective and challenging to generalize to larger populations due to the small sample sizes typically used in qualitative research. Okay, so let me give you an example. So let's say you do a survey for your customers, right? And then you got the answer from your customers, but it can be interpreted differently, right? Unlike number, if we're talking about number, if we're talking about statistics, there is a precise answer, right? However, if we're talking about opinions, right, you can interpret the opinions from your customers differently, right? So sometimes it can be quite challenging. That's the reason why we need to kind of combine these two together, so, right? So in some part of your market research, you should use quantitative, and in other parts, you should use qualitative, right? So make sure that you combine them together to get the most optimal result. Okay, guys, I think that's it. That's all you need to know. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.